Well, first, the war on drugs has been extremely devastating to our communities of color. It is not the war on drugs. It has put police in a war against their people. My 30-some-odd years of being in law enforcement, I obviously didn't always have the position that I have now of wanting to end the war on drugs. I used to be a police officer who was, well, how can I say this, very much ill-informed. Our training teaches us that people who use drugs are not really good people. Our training, our strategies, our tactics put us in communities of color. We focus on communities of color. Well, you have to excuse me because when I go here, I think about all of those things that I've done throughout my years, and I'm sorry for getting off a little bit, but I think about all of those things that I've done throughout my years that I'm not proud of today. And let me say that there are many, many police officers out there that feel the same. Fortunately for me, I'm retired. I no longer carry that badge. Many of these officers are still in your communities and neighborhoods, and they feel this way about what they're charged with doing, the policies that are given to them to enforce, mainly in communities of color, not gated communities in the suburbs. And you know there's a reason for that. Of course you do. What our policies have done in putting us at war, not just police against citizens, but against each other. And Michelle spoke to that. We are at war against each other as our brothers and sisters attempt to come out of prison and become significant parts of community again. It's a very difficult path for them to travel. To begin the healing, we need to end the system that is mostly responsible for putting our people in prison. That's right. And that is the war on drugs. That is the war on our people. Thank you, Jesus. To do this, we will need your help. It has to be a movement. It has to be a movement of all the people, as Michelle said, not just the people within our communities. Our policymakers are not going to do it. They need to hear from you. You need to give them the reason to move. You have to communicate to them and give them the reason to move. Our drug policies have made our communities extremely violent. And I just need to talk about this because this is a specific dynamic between police and community. Police officers are afraid to police in violent communities. They don't know who to trust. And don't get me wrong, there are many police officers out there that shouldn't be wearing a badge or carrying a gun. I know that. But if we want to bring police and community back together again, not that they were ever together in the first place, but if we want to bring police and community together, we have to remove the most significant barrier in between the us and them mentality, and that is our drug policies. It is our drug policies that create the violence in our communities because our young people, unfortunately, the only way they know how to settle disputes in this illicit market is through guns and violence. Whether you're a user, whether you're a seller, we, the police, are charged with policing you and putting you in prison. We have to end that cycle. We have to cut it off. Our drug policies are responsible for thousands upon the overwhelming majority of people going into prison. And just like here in New York, I'll end with this real quick. Last year, 75,000, I'm sorry, over 50,000 people arrested for marijuana possession, just marijuana possession. 86% were people of color. 86%. And I'll talk more about some of those issues related to the dynamics between police and community, but I'm sorry I got a little bit off, but every time I go here, it just, when that is brought up, it just takes me back to those things that I did as a police officer for 3 decades that I'm not proud of, and that's what we need to change. I am a police officer in recovery from police officer to peace officer.
Thank you.